I'm the Villainess, so I'm taming the final boss light novel volume 1 review. But I'm a Villainess, so I'm taming the final boss. Sarasa Nagase bring us a story that exists as part of the search of villainess isekai stories that have emerged since Manexa as the Villainess All Routes Lead to Doom became popular, while fans of the latter will definitely see the similarities when reading this one, as he starts to dig into things but puts a very different angle in this type story. Our protagonist is Eileen Lauren, the Autrich, daughter of the Elmire Empire's Prime Minister Duke Rodolphe Lauren the Autrich, and future Empress in waiting thanks to her engagement with Cedric Jean Elmire, carrying her to the throne. That is, until Cedric suddenly annuls their engagement and trades her for the prim and pretty Lilia Reynos, humiliated in front of a large gathering of those loyal to Cedric. The shock of the situation brings Eileen memories of her past life as a lonely teenage girl born in Japan, who spent most of her time playing the ultimate video game Regalia of Saints, Demons and Maidens, which turns out to be the world she's in right now. And that's really not good news, as Eileen was the villain in the game, and a very rude means a rather grisly end. Determined to avoid her fate with her game, Eileen uses her newfound knowledge to form a plan to avoid all her death flags, which revolves around marrying Cedric's brother, Claude. There's a couple of problems with that, Jong. Claude is the Demon King and final boss of the game who is usually killed by Lilia, the game's hero, and he doesn't seem remotely interested in Eileen's proposal of marriage. Not that any of that eat-eaters here, Jong, as Eileen resolves to worm her way into his cold heart and save both herself and Claude from certain death. While other entries in this genre often set themselves at the reverse harem stories, based on a foundation on ultimate visual novels, I'm the Villainess on taming the final boss, placing Ghost off as just an own thing, focus on the developing relationship between Eileen and Claude, as well as chucking us into the wide variety of court politics and intrigue. Both are handled very well, but it was definitely the latter that pulled me into the story, as you get to see all of the different characters scheming against each other to gain an advantage in the power struggle to become the next ruler of the empire. It's not quite as brutal as popular fantasy novels such as A Song of Ice and Fire, but it still shows plenty of depth and insights in its world building, establishing a clearly unjust class system for the empire's citizens and what is effectively racial segregation by the ruling elite caging the demon within the Demon King's forest. It does take a couple of chapters to get into all of this forever, as it comes off a bit clunky in introducing us to the world and main characters, frequently repeating itself in its initial run and explosion. Seeing things strong at the eyes of it being a game also doesn't pan out as nicely as it probably intends, as it often breaks the flow of the narrative and over-explains what is happening rather than letting us just enjoy the moment. It does work to preface some plot points and explain certain character motivations, but it's just not used too often as a reference point early on. Once the first couple of chapters are out of the way, it picks up into a very enjoyable read as it flashes out its plot around the quirky cast of characters that you soon fall in love with. Eileen is a very strong protagonist who offers plenty of humor thanks to both her posh attitude and her scheming ways, but thankfully doesn't come off as one not being very intelligent and empathic to those around her. Claude stands alongside her well as they share a lot of the same values, and while they don't click together immediately, seeing how their relationship progresses is very rewarding. He is however the Demon King and always prioritizes the safety of the demons under his care, which sets up a couple of key confrontations in his volume with Cedric's faction. Here is often Lilia, who is the more interesting character, as her words and actions don't always catch up. It is clear that she is hiding something. Cedric, on the other hand, is very transparent, and in turn to being the main antagonist in this volume, doesn't really live up to the job. The supporting cast is pretty fun, from Claude's outboard attendants, Kat and Belzebot, to Jasper, Eileen's journalist friend who helps her in exchange for information from Eileen's rather sadistic father. It must be said, however, that as much as I enjoy following all the characters drawn into this volume's exciting conclusion, it is very fast-paced. The end wraps up everything in the story so far, and it doesn't leave anything at the table making you want to read more. You can literally take it as a standalone short story and be completely satisfied with it. That said, considering you will leave it as a complete reset, I'm at least intrigued in seeing how it handles its second volume, as there is a clear direction in which it wants to take its characters, but it might have to change the entire tone of the story to achieve it. Whether this is a good or bad, we have to wait and see, but I think if it can keep up its political intrigue, it'll be more than satisfied. I'm the Villainess of Taking Taming the Final Boss is brought to us by Yen Press Strong, their Yen On label. The translation has been handled by Taylor Angel and for the most part reads well. Apart from a couple of small errors near the beginning of the book, honestly didn't impact my enjoyment for it. Illustrations are handled by Mike Kurosaki and are well drawn and will help the reader and visualize some of the final details, such as the appearance of the demons and Eileen's elaborate Lolita-style dresses. The series is currently ongoing in Japan at 9 volumes, and is serialized in Kotokawa's Com-Ace magazine. The second volume is due for English release in February. There's also a 3-volume manga adaptation available, also published by Yen Press, with the first volume out now, while an anime adaptation of the series was also recently announced. Overall, while I'm the Villainess or Taming the Final Boss has a clunky start outruns itself in its pacing and struggles to meld the video game elements into its story, it makes for a fascinating read. Its main characters pull us into a world of political machinations, and core Ramen, darkened by intense internal power struggle and its aggregation of humans and demons. If these themes take your fantasy, then I think you'll find this one to be a good time. 7 over 10.